Kelly Winter. Today we are going to be talking about the planets in astrology and how they can represent Game of Thrones characters. So we're going to talk about the planets as Game of Thrones characters today. I have a huge love for Game of Thrones and I love using analogies in my work, so this was like perfect. So we're going to get right off the bat, we're going to get going. So we're going to talk about sun first. We're going to take our journey through the solar system. So we're going to talk about the sun first. So the sun exemplifies ourselves, right? It's our personality. It's the nature of who we are. It's also kind of our life purpose and our consciousness, how we interact with the world, and all that good stuff. So the sun in Game of Thrones is represented by Jon Snow. Love Jon Snow. He's on this hero's journey, right? And it's all about discovering himself in these different situations that he's put in the world. When he was at home, then when he went out into the world and became a member of the Night's Watch, then kind of what he, experienced when he was beyond the wall, then coming back and being Lord Commander, still always ever conscious of the role that he plays and developing his personality along the way. So the sun is represented by Jon Snow in Game of Thrones. The moon is our inner self. So it's kind of like the opposite of the sun. The sun is our outer self. Our moon is our inner self. It is how we feel about things, how we react to things. It's kind of our soul's life, our soul's journey on the inside. So the moon is represented by Arya Stark. So the reason I picked Arya for this is that she has had a lot of stuff happen to her, and she takes it all in and she internalizes it. Everything that happened with Ned and with Robin and Catelyn, she has her made her create her list, right? So she took all those in and she emotionally reacted to those things, and then she had a very visceral emotional response, and so she created her list. And she is kind of living her life driven by these internal drives, and her searching for revenge, of course, or a rectification, and so she's driven very internally by her emotions. So the moon is Arya. Mercury is super cool. Mercury rules my sun sign. Mercury is all about the mind and communication. It can also be like our nerves and our senses, too. Mercury is very flitty, kind of flitty about, also asexual. So of course, Mercury is represented by Varys. Varys is one of my favorite characters. He, of course, as we know, he's a eunuch, so he's asexual. So no passion, kind of comes into play. Cersei wields her sexuality, and that's how she gets her power. But that doesn't matter with Varys. So the asexualness, he has his birds that talk to him, right? And he talks to other birds and sends out, kind of plays, behind the scenes, talks to this person and talks to that person, makes plans and makes things happen. That's Mercury. Mercury was a messenger of the gods, so he was always going around talking to everybody. So that's Varys. Very smart. He's very smart. He knows what's what, and he knows how things really work. That's Mercury. So Mercury is Varys. Venus is next. You might think, obviously, Venus would be Dany or Cersei, but no. Venus is about what we value. It's about what we place value on and what we find to be of value in other people. It's about creating harmony and and love and admiring those things in other people. So Venus is represented by Sansa. And I say this, let me tell you why. Because Sansa is after she wants love. Season 1, Sansa, she has the big picture with Joffrey, right? She thinks everything's going to be wonderful. She's going to go and live in this fine, palace, and she's going to be the queen eventually, or she'll be a princess in the meantime, and she's going to have love, and everything's going to be great. Well, that's not what happens, but she's totally into that stuff. She wants balance and harmony. And Catelyn does too, but Catelyn's not quite. Sansa's more, because Sansa really values that finery, and she looks for that in other people. She doesn't find it a lot, but she does find it in some people, and she really values it. As for instance, we're in season 6 right now, so she just found that in Brienne, and she really holds that close to her heart. And she's deeply wounded when others don't value things the way that she does. Like, Theon's betrayal. She was deeply wounded because he didn't value her family as much as she did. So Venus is Sansa. Mars is all about action and passion and fire and kind of self movement, ambition, and acting on our impulses. So this is represented by Jaime. Jaime, super gives into his passions, right? He has sex with his sister. But it's all about passion for him. He's this fabulous warrior. He's all about action and doing things. And he gets results, right? When he does those things. So, definitely Mars is definitely Jaime. Mars a little bit could be Brienne, because she is the warrior, and she is about action, and getting things done. But she also has a lot of Venus qualities because she's all about valuing and honor, whereas Mars, not so much about honor, obviously, right? It's represented by Jaime. Even though I really like Jaime, he's coming along. Let's see. Our next one is Jupiter. Jupiter is all about expansion and zest for life and giving things in compensation, giving things for people so that they'll come and join the party. Jupiter's a really good guy. Jupiter's actually represented by Daenerys, and also Robert, because Jupiter can be, there are male aspects and female aspects. So the female aspects are Dany. She goes to the different cities in Essos, and she's a Marine right now, and she gives the slaves their freedom. What could be better? What could be a better gift, right? So she is all about giving things. And even though it's not a great big party when she's there, she is lucky. She has the dragons, and she's going to hopefully, in the end, bring luck to Westeros with her dragons, because they'll defeat the White Walkers. That's what we all hope, right? So that's Jupiter. In the female aspect is represented by Dany. Jupiter also is correlated with Juno, the Roman goddess of, she's like the mother god. And she is, Dany is the mother of dragons. And she's the Khaleesi. So, female aspect of Jupiter is represented by Daenerys. Male aspect of Jupiter is represented by Robert Baratheon, because he's the life of the party. He's big, right? He eats what he likes what he eats, and he enjoys eating. He enjoys screwing. He enjoys all of the fun part of life. He really takes advantage of that kingly, role that he has, and he takes advantage of all of those things by eating what he wants and drinking as much as he wants and screwing whoever he wants and being happy doing it. And during Robert's reign, it was a peaceful reign, right? When he was there, of course, afterwards it's all gone to shit, but when he was ruling, it was a peaceful reign. So he did bring luck to Westeros in that aspect. So Jupiter, female representation, Daenerys, male representation, Robert Baratheon. Next we have Saturn. Saturn is all about structure. Saturn is about responsibility and protection, limitations, creating form and structure to things. And so Saturn is, just like Jupiter, has a male and female aspect to it. Saturn in its female aspect is represented by Cersei. Cersei is all about structure. She's also about protecting her loved ones and limiting what they can and can't do and what will be done to them. And she's will make it happen. She establishes structure in the Red Keep while she's there, and makes things happen in the world too. So Cersei, definitely about structure. And some of it, just because it's about structure and limitation doesn't mean it's all bad. She does love her kids. She really does. And she does love her family, except for Tyrion. But she does love her family. And so she wants to protect her family. And she wants the best for House Lannister. So she's going to do what she thinks needs to be done in order for House Lannister to get ahead. Also in the reign of both of her sons, she's going to help them as much as she can. Even though Joffrey's didn't last very long, but in Tommen's reign, she's going to help him establish the structure that he needs in order to run Westeros in the best way that she sees in her head as possible. In its male aspect, Saturn is represented by Tywin Lannister. So both Lannisters, father and daughter. Tywin, think of him out in season 2, I think it was, when he was out and they're fighting the War of the Five Kings, right? The Clash of Kings. He is the general out in the field, and he is running things, and things are happening under his reign as a general, not his reign as a king. So he is very about, this is the way it is, and there is no discussion, and just do it. That is Saturn. Tywin is also very, he's protective of the Lannister name as well. Not so much his children, I mean, he kind of is, but it's more about the legacy. And so, yeah, so Saturn, when I think of Saturn, I totally think of Tywin first, because it's very restrictive and very limiting. He's very limiting as far as what he will allow Tyrion to do and not do, and what he will allow and not allow in Joffrey's reign. So Saturn, female aspect represented by Cersei, male aspect represented by Tywin. Next we have, sorry, I'm just moving my notes down. Next we have Uranus. Uranus is all about change and the revolutionary, and having breakthroughs and new energies, transforming, but like in a revolutionary way, not in like a life-death way, like in a revolutionary way. So Uranus is represented by Robb Stark. Ned died, right, at Joffrey's command, and Robb said, no, F this, you're going down. We're going to change things. This is not going to be the future of Westeros is not going to be determined by this crazy boy king. We're going to start a revolution. And that's exactly what he did. He started a revolution, and he was doing really well. He was leading everybody forward into the battle against the Lannisters and the established reign. So totally Rob. But also represented by Littlefinger. Littlefinger he's got this energy that kind of comes in and just kind of shakes things up a little bit. Not in the revolutionary, in-your-face way that Rob did, but very subtly, but still effective. Littlefinger he's more of the behind-the-scenes guy who puts all the pegs in motion and then watches everything fall. So not as in your face. So Neptune can be subtle or brash. I mean, not Neptune, I'm sorry. Uranus can be subtle or brash. It just depends. Your breakthroughs are very brash, but the process of transformation sometimes doesn't have to be quite as in your face as Rob's revolution, but more in the subtle type of way as Littlefinger. And I think Littlefinger could wind up sitting on that damn throne. So anyway, next we have Neptune. Neptune is super cool because it's all about like that foggy kind of integrating of parts of ourselves. It's about kind of like doing things out of obligation. So it's kind of like we lose our complete sense of self. Sometimes it's about complete surrender of ourselves. Also to things that are like beyond ourselves, like spirituality and things like that. So Neptune is represented by Bran. Bran wargs, and when he wargs, he loses his sense of self completely, right? Because because the physical form that he wargs into is not him, even though it's him kind of like leading things. And also when he integrates with the three-eyed raven, he doesn't want to do that, but he feels obligated because that's his duty. That's his sense of destiny. And so that's what he does. And he extends beyond himself and incorporates a whole nother dimension of self. So Neptune, Bran, but also Melisandre. Melisandre does things for the Lord of Light because she feels obligated, but she has surrendered herself to the Lord of Light. So she's going to do whatever she feels led to do. So she has definitely gone beyond her sense of self, because when she brought Jon back, so spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen season 6 and is not caught up, Jon's alive. When brought Jon back, that was beyond her sense of self. She didn't do that. She had no clue that she was even going to be able to do that. And she surrendered herself up to the Lord of Light. And just like Thoros of Myr, she was able to bring Jon back, like he did with Beric Dondarrion. Okay, so Neptune is Bran and Melisandre. Lastly, we have Pluto. Pluto is all about transition, about life, death, rebirth cycles. Pluto is also about power, but Pluto can also be about our undoing. So can you guys guess? Can you guess who Pluto is represented by? Pluto is represented by Tyrion, one of my other favorite characters. Pluto is represented by Tyrion because Tyrion's little, but outside of that, he actually has great power. When he was serving as Hand of the King, he kicked ass at the Battle of Blackwater. That was all Tyrion, because Joffrey, we know, was hiding behind Cersei's skirts. So that was all Tyrion, and he is very powerful because he's very smart. And he can help bring about that transition through life, death, and rebirth. And if you think about it, he kind of went through that at the Battle of Blackwater because he thought he was going to die, and he received that scar. So he woke up, he's a totally different person now because he has a scar, right? And in the books, he's much more ghastly looking than Peter Dinklage is, because Peter Dinklage is good looking. Um, but so that was kind of a life, death, rebirth. Also, he kind of went through a little bit of that when he murdered his father, because that was a literal death that created a new sense of self within him, and also for the whole country of Westeros, because they were no longer under that Saturn Tywin looming presence. And so where do we go from here, right? It's all open. So he kind of brought that about. Also, we know he gives into his compulsions, right? He drinks a lot, he screws a lot, and he does what he wants. And he has lots of money to pay for it, right? So, yeah, Pluto is all about transition. Okay, so those are my takes. I'm sure you guys have some others that might spring to mind. If you do, comment down below. And you can like me on Facebook at Facebook/Warrior Women Life Coaching. And you can follow me on my website at kellywintermft.com. Look for me under coaching, and you can work with me on all kinds of different stuff about coming into your own, and how to use astrology and tarot and kind of ancient wisdom to help out with modern problems. So that's it for now. And namaste, my bitches.